Everyone, this is Daniel Audunsson here, and today I have Shane here with me, and I'm going to just have a conversation with Shane because Shane has an awesome story that I think will be really inspiring and valuable for you to hear about, learn about. Shane started about 4 years ago selling private label products on Amazon, and he's since grown his business to the seven-figure level. He's approaching the seven-figure level with his business. And he's a really smart guy. He's got a lot of unique talents. And one of the things I find fascinating about Shane is a lot of people talk about keeping things simple and sort of being minimalists. Shane is one of the few people I met that actually is a minimalist and keeps things simple, like by nature, which is really cool. So his perspective on things, I think, is very valuable. And since starting, Shane and I have known each other for 4 years. He started early on in one of my programs. And this year he actually joined the team we have at Into Profits. And we're doing really cool stuff, which we'll talk a bit more about. More things that are coming out this year. We'll talk about that at the end of the interview. So Shane has come in sort of an operational role. He's focused on advertising PPC. So he's got a lot of great insights on that, which we can talk about. But first of all, just wanted to cover Shane's story, his journey as an Amazon seller, what he's been through, how he's been able to reach the seven-figure level now in a short time and build a great business, great lifestyle business, self-made entrepreneur. So Shane, welcome to the call.
Thanks for that introduction, Daniel. Very flattering. Looking
Well,
forward to having a chat.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I just have a lot of great things to say about you. So you'll have to bear with me on that. I hope I don't embarrass you too much, but yeah, so let's just dive in. I think the first thing people would find really interesting is basically how you started, because I know you were just graduating college, right? Finance degree. So maybe just kind of give us a quick introduction on how and why you got started.
Yeah, that's right. I studied accounting and then done a master's in finance. I had no plans to be an entrepreneur. I was just in sort of, particularly with accounting, I was doing something that was like money in, didn't really know what I was doing, but loved the finance side of things. So decided to stay on and do a master's in that. Done pretty well and was looking for a job in treasury. So essentially a cash flow engine of a bank or a business. So a pretty specific role, but it must have been 5 or 6 months that I'd finished, that I graduated, and I still hadn't had any luck. I got to like final interviews. I was doing interviews with like directors in banks and things like that. But unfortunately, I never got it, or fortunately, I should say, because I could be working in a bank now. But right. After that, I'd seen someone talking about Amazon and the Amazon business, and I was pretty hooked from then on, and then came across yourself.
Awesome. So you joined my program Infinity Code. Was it about 4 years ago? Something like that.
Yes, I think so. I think was it the first or the second year? It was pretty early. Actually, it was 4 years ago.
Yeah. Time flies.
Yeah, it sure does. Seems long though. Seems like a long time though.
Yeah. A lot has happened since then.
Yeah.
And so was that the first course you joined, or like the second or third, or?
So that would have been the second. I had joined, so the original guy that I'd seen talking about on YouTube, he had a course. I think it was a couple $100, nothing really detailed, but I joined that, and it sort of validated that this was possible, that it was possible to be successful on Amazon. But me being me, I always want to have like maybe an edge. And as soon as I'd heard you talking, I think it was referral on a webinar. I heard you talking, and immediately I wanted to get involved in what you were offering.
Cool. What was it that I guess attracted you to me, or what made sense to you?
I don't know. No, it was I think it was the scientific approach. you talked about getting from A to B with predictable results. And that was exactly what I wanted to hear. Having been, let's say, in academia or studying for many
Right.
years, that sort of resonated with me straight away. That there were certain things we could be working on, certain methods, certain techniques we could use that would get us the result we're looking for. And that is
Yeah.
successfully getting the product onto Amazon, you know?
Right. Instead of like kind of vague details, or more like a hit and miss approach.
Yeah, exactly. It was, I think it was just the clarity that you had on it that a lot of people didn't have, you know?
Right.
A lot of people were talking in sort of very ambiguous, and you were very clear in what it was we needed to do to actually get up and running. So,
Right. Makes sense. Um, okay. And so you joined Infinity Code, and yeah, talk us through like what happened then. Like, how did you go about like finding your first product, and how long did it take, and sort of first year or so?
yeah, so I mean, it didn't disappoint anyway. Infinity Code it helped me get up and running, particularly some of the techniques about launching products and trialing out products were particularly good for us because that was exactly what I'd done. Um, and then we got to a certain point where we had maybe 3 or 4 products, but we sort of hit a ceiling. I think that would have been around the 20,000 mark. We would have hit a ceiling and couldn't sort of get past that scale up because everything was a little bit all over the place. Like I didn't really have a grip on anything. Things were working, but there was nothing there that I could say, I need to follow this path to get up the next level after that, you know?
Right. Right. And to get to like 20,000 a month, was it a year or 2 years? Like, how long did it take you roughly?
Well, that's a good question. I think it would have been about a year, but it probably a little bit less than that because it takes a long time to get the product up and get it going, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And then, is it accurate to say that you were kind of like stuck at a certain level, like you were saying, with 4 or so products, and things kind of felt chaotic and messy, and you weren't able to really gain like traction to go farther?
yeah, I should say, at that time, I just didn't know what to do next.
Right.
In terms of like, I had my plate full, and I know it's like add products, but I was doing too much of the business that I didn't know how. I didn't have the time, and I wasn't able to dedicate the time to adding products. But after joining or after talking to you, having the consultation, you explained that there's sort of systems and operations and things we can put in place, or things I can put in place to predictably get to the next level by following set steps, you know, based on, and it's the beautiful thing about it as well is based on my circumstances, you
Right.
know.
Right. Yeah, I remember you sent me a direct message on Facebook, I believe, and I was just just in the process of launching and building Apex Seller, which is then the program
Yeah,
you joined. Um,
it's good timing.
so yeah, so that program gave you exactly what you needed in terms of like the structure, the systems, things like that.
Yeah, exactly. Because once we were able to dial in the systems, as far as advertising, as far as operations, um, then it gave me the ability to hire people, hire help, and get great people on board that would take us up another level, you know. Because then I was able to dedicate time and increase revenue while adding people to the business. So.
Right. What would you say were some of like the major transformations that happened for you after you joined, or when you joined Apex Seller?
I don't think there was any major transformation. Like it was nothing that happened that the flip the switch per se. But I was always very content because I knew what I was doing then. I was building out the workflows, I was building out the systems for support, for advertising, for the supply chain. And I was writing down essentially my best practices that then someone else can come in and take over that. and then make that their own, you know. And I think that was the key, you know.
Like
So
the
to be honest, when I purchased Apex, I think I've purchased maybe one or two fairly smaller courses outside of that, but I felt since then that like Apex is the course to end all courses for me, because now I really know what I'm doing. I have clarity, and it's still as applicable today as it was. What is it, Daniel? It would be 2 years ago
two
now.
years ago, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's because it's obviously the fundamentals that don't really change. Obviously, there's certain components that evolve, like the PPC systems, but a lot of the same things are just the same 2 years, 3 years from
yeah,
now, 4 years.
yeah. It's a good point. I think a lot of people in the space were talking about like gimmicks and tricks to increase sales or to get reviews or to sort of game the system. Whereas Apex is more about the business fundamentals and the predictable things we can do as far as support, supply chain, marketing, sales, and product selection, things like that, that are the actual core fundamentals of business that are not only great for now and getting to the next level, but like when you learn these things, you have them for the rest of your life, essentially. So
Right,
I knew as soon as I got in and started listening to that sort of stuff, that this was the right choice.
right. So, so it sounds like it gave you a lot more like clarity and confidence in what you were doing.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't have confidence in what I was doing before. I didn't know when we were going to reach the next level. I didn't know how to get to that far. So it probably was a little bit touch and go at that stage. Like it could have very easily started going downwards just because of the
Right,
unpredictability of everything. Too many like spinning plates. So thankfully it was right place, right time.
right. Okay, cool. So let's talk about some of the more specific things that helped you. Obviously, one thing to note, for people watching this is, at this point you have a pretty cool lifestyle. You live in Indonesia. You're, able to spend time on the beach and do whatever you want, essentially. So it's really kind of worked out well from that perspective. And one of the big things you're doing is that you have kind of like a unique supply chain and product range and things like that. So remember, when we were having conversations through the program, on our Q&A sessions and things, initially it was a lot about like hiring a supply chain manager and getting your production sort of dialed in. So maybe share a little bit about that experience, like how that sort of transformed a very, very fundamental part of your business.
Yeah. Um, our sort of industry, we're involved in handcraft, which a lot of our products are. So the supply chain is a crucial element to our business that's maybe a little bit different than, say, traditional China production. So it meant the value of supply chain was huge, and being able to implement things to do with like quality control and even like the worldwide quality standards. I had never heard of that beforehand. So
Right.
that was huge. And it gave me an understanding of how a supply chain should work, as far as inventory planning, as far as cash flow. And with that, then, as you mentioned, I was able to go and hire the supply chain manager and someone that was good at their job because I understood what I was hiring for. Whereas before I
Mm.
didn't understand, and hiring's tricky enough as it is. Never mind when you're hiring for a position you know nothing about.
Right. Yeah, and that's another thing that I think you're naturally also very good at is yeah, working with people and things like that. But at the same time, it's also a skill set that you had to learn. So we obviously did cover hiring. We do cover that in Apex, and so would
Yeah.
you say that part of it, like just understanding how to create the systems, the clarity, the structure, and then hire the right people, train them, coach them, work with the team, like that was a big transformation for you in terms of how you're running your business now versus before you joined Apex.
Yeah, hiring, as you mentioned there is big A to Z on hiring within Apex, which is really helpful. And using that to then apply to your own personal situation and build your systems to hire was hugely important. It started to come full circle as well, as in after hiring now and through the coaching, through what I've learned from Apex, I'm able to then coach my employees, and they're actually going out and building these amazing systems themselves and having these really smooth operations, which is what I'm most proud of, is
Yeah.
the relationships and developing people, you know. So I think everyone wants to live up to their potential, and if you can leave everyone a little bit better than you found them, then you're going the right way.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like the holy grail of business, I guess, is the people component and actually being able to build like an organism and a proper organization that can kind of
Yeah,
grow naturally
yeah,
through the
yeah.
people. Yeah.
That's true as well. You know, it's to be able to go from, let's say, a solopreneur to having a real company, um, it's a big step, but it's one that's necessary if you want to take it up to that next level, you know, because a lot of people get stuck in the like solopreneur doing everything themselves, and it's pretty much impossible to get to a big level with that setup, you know.
And it's not as fun either. They're doing everything yourself.
No, 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 it's not. I think that's the best part of it, as I said, is like the relationships, whether that's your own employees, like your internal team, or my employees. No, I always refer to everyone that's a partner of ours, third party, as our extended team. That's the currency. That's the things you want to develop, and yeah, that's the fun part, you know.
Yeah. And it sounds like you've been able to create a pretty cool culture like in your team where people are really enjoying what they're doing.
Yeah, it's huge. Huge is the culture, and setting the tone as a leader, you know. And you're only able to do that when you fully understand the business, you fully understand what you're doing, and then you can set an example and set standards for the rest of the team, you know. Because
Yeah.
obviously the beautiful thing is when you hire someone and they can come in and be better than you at that particular role, you know. And so that's the fun part. Then you're relying on them. They're the guys that know what they're doing. I'm supporting them essentially, and yeah, I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And I think if I'm not remembering incorrectly, like it took you a little bit of time to get the right person for the supply chain manager role, right? But
Oh,
it was a bit of trial and error. But once you got the person, like it's so valuable and he's brought some experience to the table, right? And things like that.
yeah, yeah. Took I think 3 attempts,
Right.
and I think hiring is one of the hardest things in business, if
Yeah.
not the hardest thing. Getting people right, because everyone can work with like numbers and uh, things like that. But when you're working with people, it's not numbers, it's biology, it's personality. So yeah, it took a while, but I knew what I was looking for. You know, I had that clarity about the sort of character I was looking for, the values we want in the company, and then not only that, but then the role itself. So I was able to hire people, realize they weren't the right people, or some moved on, and then eventually get the right person, you know, just through
Yeah.
perseverance.
Yeah.
And yeah, then it's a game changer, as you know yourself, when you can get in someone that is yeah, that lives the company values. Some of the ones we have are like ownership, setting the right example. So these are the things you want, and it's not only for, like you mentioned in Apex, it's not only for delegation. I think that's the wrong way to look at it. It's to give them ownership of that department. You know, it's
Yeah.
like they've got the business owner hat on as well. So then
Yeah.
everything doesn't come back to you, because again, you're getting back into that solopreneur sort of setup, and it's a complete bottleneck. You know, it's a complete bottleneck.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think this is one area of the business a lot of especially Amazon sellers misunderstand, just because I guess there's not much information on it. I know it took me a long time to figure it out. Not a long time, but it took me trial and error, like serious pain, to figure it out. Um, because uh, a big thing I see is like people hire like a VA, let's say in the Philippines,
Mm,
and then they put them in some project management tool and basically lay out every single task they're supposed to do, and just basically micromanage the heck out of the person. And
yeah,
nobody likes that. No one's gonna enjoy
yeah,
that, stay for long. And it's still like everything still leads back to you. So you're still like the center, the bottleneck of your own business. So that is not, that's completely different. You can
yeah. yeah,
do certain things like that, but it's completely different to building like an actual company, like an actual
yeah,
organization with people
yeah,
that have ownership and stuff.
yeah. I think it's so true. I think a lot of people, maybe it's and it would have been me myself before this. You know, it's not that it's has never happened to me. It's happened to me as well. In terms of not understanding the business fundamentals, not understanding the roles, and thereby hiring like a VA that tries to do everything, but no one can
Yeah.
do everything right. You know what I mean? And to be able to hire someone, whether it's a support manager, supply chain manager, someone in marketing, and understand the role and understand hiring, understand people, and yeah, slowly but surely you do get there. You know?
Yeah. And I guess does take, like you said, that clarity on your business first and foremost yourself, like, and really understanding what you're doing to be able to get that across to other people and get them to come into that structure and do the right things. And, you know, if things are a mess, you're not clear, you don't have structure, you don't have systems, like, then obviously it's just going to add
Yeah.
to the mess to bring people into that.
Yeah, exactly. It sort of points to the fact that like before, I didn't really have my personal operations in check, as in didn't have any routine, didn't have a schedule, um, or if I did, it was very basic. So to be able to come into Apex and pick up some of the stuff that you've been applying for many years, whether that's scheduling or time auditing, um, these are crucial because as a leader, as if you do want to get to like the company level, you're going to be the leader of that, and all of your team pick up on your behaviors, on what you're doing, and you've got to lead by example. And if you can't get clear about what you're doing, then you've very little hope, I don't think, of giving people that clarity to come into the business and help you out. You know?
Yeah. And if you're not organized, then you take 2 days to respond back to things and etc. Like, people are going to take on that culture themselves, and they're going to become sloppy and slow, and doesn't build a good company.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think the owners should, or at least the owner should be the last person to leave work or turn off the computer.
Right. Right. One thing I think people would really find interesting is currently, because you're getting to the 7-figure level. I would argue you're already there. I know you don't maybe agree, but
Yeah,
it's
not
it's
quite.
it's it's going really well, to say that, and growing. I think most people would, um, and envy the sort of growth and things you're having, and it's been very consistent for you. And you have a clear path. But like right now, what does the team look like? What roles do you have, and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so we have supply chain manager full time, we have a support manager full time, and we have a marketing exec full time as well.
So essentially, three like key people.
Yeah, yeah, and I always try to take people in. Like I'd hire, let's say, contractors up till the point that there's a full time role there, and then's where really where the magic happens. Because when you can get someone in that's gonna be full time dedicated to the role, and it's a defined role that has outcomes, then it's a really it gives them, it empowers them to go on and do good things. You know. Whereas
Yeah.
I think if you've got people on there that are like 10 hours and they're doing a bit of everything, they're not really developing their craft in any one thing. It's quite frustrating. I think if we look at ourselves and we have to do everything, it's not going to be fruitful. It's
Yeah.
not going to be enjoyable as well. You want to create an environment, a culture that's fun. You know, you work hard, but at the same time, uh, we could all be doing a million and one other things in this life. So if we're going to be working together and as a team, let's have some fun along the way.
Exactly. Yeah, couldn't agree more. And this goes back to, I think, where you're naturally very strong. Like I mentioned I was introducing you. Like you keep things simple. You're a minimalist by nature. Like, so you're really good at not overstretching things, and which I think is unusual for an entrepreneur, because usually entrepreneurs are more kind of go fast, go big, go kind of sloppy, and I was guilty of that in my business. Having a team that was too big for what we actually we should have been able to do what we were doing with fewer people, essentially. So like you have three people, essentially four with yourself, and business is sizable at this point. I think few businesses
Yeah,
could reach this level with that small of a team, but that's a really good thing and something you've been able
mm,
to do, um, and not overextend the team, like instead get really quality people. And this, I think, comes back to also something that people tend to mess up in Amazon business is hiring like a bunch of different VAs instead of focusing on the quality of the team, having fewer people, but really, really great people that take ownership. And that's really the key to have
yeah,
like a healthy, like really good business.
yeah, exactly. I like to I like to hire people, let's say early stage. I think it's especially important for Amazon as well, is that there's often roles that people have never worked before, and it might be changing a little bit now in the last couple of years, but often there's these roles that are new, and
Mm.
you have to coach people. So being able to coach them comes from having the knowledge to actually coach them in the first place. But yeah, they can go on and be great.
Yeah. Awesome. So there's one more area I think that would be fun to talk about, which I know has been a huge um, thing for you, your business, and also I guess an area that you really like personally. So you've personally like focused there is the advertising, like Amazon PPC advertising systems. So I would be very curious to know. I've never asked you this question actually. Like, what were you doing before Apex, and like how did those systems change your approach to that, like the sales generation?
What was I doing before? I think it was probably maybe I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 campaigns. So probably not a lot is the is the right answer to that question. Um, but when I joined Apex and realized that there was you could use bulk files in Excel and deploy like predictable systems, I think that was a game changer. And it's actually full circle there, because when I was doing studying, we were on Excel nearly daily, particularly for in finance, but like financial models and equations and
Right.
all of this. So I had actually been so well versed in that when I got to Apex, I was pretty satisfied with that, because it's a little bit like school. You're doing these sort of things. You're like, I'm never going to use this again, am I?
Right.
And then you start using it, and then I obviously was very familiar with it. So yeah, it enabled me to go on it and not only apply the systems, but then start changing the systems and making them better. And
Yeah.
just because of I think what's evident in Apex is you're not just giving people like a trick or do this, go from A to B. You're more teaching people and coaching people how to think and giving them a new perspective on things. And so that obviously resonated a lot with me. And I'd often think about how can we improve things? How can we improve the advertising side of things? And yeah, being quite analytical, that is what I've done slowly but surely. Um, Start playing around with spreadsheets, start changing things. Let's start seeing the results. And yeah, then when you said there may be a position here in advertising, I thought this is something that I could do very well.
Yeah, it was cool, because we were starting to talk a bit more, and obviously, we don't have a huge group in Apex. It's more of an exclusive group, so we have a lot of interactions, and I know everyone pretty well in the group. But yeah, I remember I was like, "Hey, this guy is actually much better at this than me, so he would be a perfect person to come join our team on this in
Yeah,
particular, because obviously you have the background. I don't. I'm just like a ghetto person coming into Excel with no training on it and building things out. But you brought the expertise, like you were able to see ways to improve things further with your analytical skills and all that kind of stuff. And I guess you really found your zone as well. Like, wow, I really like this. This is really fun to do.
yeah, it was natural to me at that point. And so it gave me um, how would you say it? I could see things that we were doing. Let's say when we were analyzing like S&P 500 or stocks on the stock market and conducting analysis, I could see things, and I knew tools with Excel that we could sort of manipulate the data a little bit and change things up. Um, so yeah, it sort of yeah, it was good in that sense.
Yeah. And one thing I think we should clarify just so people understand as well as there's so much talk in the Amazon world about all these different marketing things you can do, giveaways and all that stuff. Um, is it correct that right now, and I guess for the last couple of years, PPC plus your listing optimization, like that's been 95% of your marketing efforts?
Yeah, that's true. I think once you have a good product and you have a product that has, let's say, a strategic advantage or you have an angle on it, combine that with PPC and a good listing, and that's enough to launch and to be successful on Amazon. I think it's feeding Amazon what it wants, because they're increasingly becoming pay to play, as in pay for the ads to get visibility. And we've seen that with other areas, particularly like social media and Facebook, whereas before you'd get all this like organic reach, and now it's not the case. You have to pay for ads, and Amazon are essentially printing money doing it because they're just having an auction for their
Yeah.
own website. So I imagine this will be the direction it's going. It's going to become a bigger portion of their P&L, and they will favor people that are spending a lot of money on ads. And from
Yeah.
our perspective, we have to take that sort of their priority, their perspective, and then utilize that in a way that's advantageous for us. So that's increasing revenue, being efficient with our spend, but yet still like got the, let's say, the gas pedal all the way down. And yeah, from my experience, Amazon pick up on that, and yeah, you get obviously organic ranking and it rewards you. So
Yeah, it's amazing how it works now. It actually is much simpler than before in terms of being able to use these systems to drive your growth and support your sales and everything. And it rewards more the people that actually have great products and a great strategy with their products and just the basics, the fundamentals, the things that actually should be important, because that's kind of how it should work, is that people that are
yeah,
providing great value in the market with their products and things win out versus people that are relying on gimmicks and hacks to game the system. And also,
yeah, I think
one thing that is really interesting from an operational perspective there is that um, when you try to do like five different things to market your products, you spread yourself thin. Like you're only 20% effective at any one thing, especially when you're small and you don't have the resources as a team to focus properly on each thing. And then that's a huge disadvantage. Like PPC is only at 20% of the potential, but if you just did the most impactful thing, which is PPC and listing optimization, and did that at 100%, you would get much better results.
yeah, you can spend a lot of time trying to do external stuff external off Amazon, but I find the best results are on Amazon.
Right. And cool thing about PPC as well, I guess we can kind of talk about a little bit here as well, is that there's a lot of improvements. Like we're finding so many things that we can still do to improve things and do things that other people aren't doing, like to gain an advantage. With PPC, there's more and more options, like the video ads are pretty new, pretty amazing. And so I guess that's really an area where you become very involved in terms of figuring things out and building out more systems and more structure and improving the existing systems and things. You still see a lot of opportunity within those systems.
Yeah, it's a case of probably too much opportunity. I'm just trying
Right.
to focus on getting one done at a time, because I have a huge list of ideas and improvements that we can implement, and it will increase our spend or increase our revenue and make our spend more efficient. So yeah, I think there's a lot on the way, and yeah, I'm pretty excited. Pretty excited.
And it's the power of the data, like being able to really dig in on it and fine tune. Like it's sort of like you just kind of go into this thing that, and there's always more. There's always more to do to improve things. And yeah, like you said, it's just almost like too much opportunity. But it's exciting though, because it means there's a lot of things that haven't been done, and we're able to improve results significantly because of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of untapped potential, and we're seeing with Amazon releasing more ways to advertise, as you mentioned, with like video ads and display ads. So I expect to be more on the way, and I guess my job is to keep up to date and keep everyone on top of the current changes.
Yeah, exactly. And the cool thing is you're able to do this because you have such a good team with your private label business that frees you up, and you're able to focus on the things that you really enjoy doing, and really master, some of the most impactful things in this business, like the advertising. And again, like, you're able to do things I wouldn't be able to do. And it's not a given to be able to do, like, take things really far and improve things. You need to have the right skill set, the right interest. A lot of people watching this probably would never want to do anything with PPC themselves. It's like the least interesting thing. So it's really like, yeah, it's, I would say you found your zone with that, and that's really cool.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty lucky to have been able to get a great team together and have almost leaders in every department. So thereby it frees me up um, to focus on advertising and taking things to the next level for the guys in Apex.
Yeah. And then I guess the final thing we can mention on that, because people watching um, might be interested and curious to hear what we're working on, sort of high level, to take things further. Obviously, one of the things that separates or makes our systems really good is the fact we use the bulk operations. We use we're able to do things at scale and go much deeper on the data, fine tune, and we've taken that really far. But then it starts to get into like things like technology and automation, and different things that have to be built up, from the ground up, to be able to do certain things like faster and even more effectively and efficiently. And so it keeps going.
Yeah, there's just so much data, especially when you download bulk files. You're like, oh,
Right.
so to be able to know the right indicators to look at, the right analysis to run, to get insights on your own data, and realize where you're going wrong, realize where you're going right. And I guess the 80/20 rule applies, is you want to do more of the good stuff, and less of the wasteful spend, let's say.
And the interesting thing as well, which I think a lot of sellers don't realize, is you can apply simple logic and formulas to certain things, just to kind of blindly do it, or execute different things. But at the same time, that can be a treacherous path, because that can also lead you in the wrong direction. There's some like discretionary thought that's required to really optimize, like, first of all, for the right thing, which is not just like the ACOS on your campaigns, but overall profit in the business, more like the ACOTS, taking into account drink and stuff. But also, like,
Yeah.
being able to make discretionary decisions, like, the logic is suggesting this change, but I know better because these ads are actually doing this, having this impact on rank. And so that's, I guess, what makes it trickier than just like simple automation, if you want to get the best
Yeah,
results.
it's situational. You want to
Yeah.
be able to determine the outcome based off what you need at that moment. I mean, if you're having, for example, out of stock issues, which we had some with the shipping crisis this year, you probably want to optimize more for profitability, versus if you've got a steady stream of stock and everything's good, you can probably push the ads further and attain more organic ranking, more revenue, and that will be the thing that increases the business, increases your sales. But it's not always the case. You gotta sit down and look at your supply chain, look at your marketing, and decide what strategy you want to take. Because it's not going to be a one size fits all. And you can get lost in looking at ACOS, but it doesn't correlate. Often it doesn't correlate with let's say, the total advertising cost of sales. And so being able to know the right numbers to look at any given time is important. And I think, as you've already built in Apex, gives a lot of this ready-made, let's say templates, ready-made analysis that is exactly what you need to make decisions, and make decisions at scale as well. Because the fact that we're using bulk files, the fact that we know what analysis to look at, for not only one campaign, but I mean, we've got hundreds of campaigns, and to be able to get through all of those campaigns quick, efficiently, and then make decisions about orders and make decisions about advertising. I think that's hugely important.
Yeah, exactly. And it comes back to something you obsess about in Apex Sellers is being a systems thinker, actually taking a holistic view. Like if you're looking at your ads, you're not just looking at your ads, you're looking at your goals. Like you're looking at what you're trying to accomplish. At this point, you're looking at even things from your supply chain. And then we have things, like the key performance indicator tracking and the OKR system. And then when you have a team, like how do you bring them into the table for decision making? And so
Yeah.
all those things are critical as well. It's not just PPC on its own, it's PPC in connection to everything else that's going on.
Yeah, they're all hugely connected. As you said, it's a holistic thing. And oftentimes I'm having discussions with our supply chain manager about our advertising, as in I can't put the gas pedal down because we haven't got this consistent flow of stock. Now, obviously with a shipping crisis, it's not always controllable, but I can't push down on the ads, which can increase our revenue. I mean, my personal strategy is the break-even one, whereas I'm pushing ads to the max, because if we can increase revenue, increase the amount of units we're ordering while still maintaining quality, we're going to have economies of scale. And economies of scale are going to mean that we can order units for better costs, more efficient, whether that's packaging, whether that's products, whether that's shipping. If you can do like 20-foot containers, 40-foot containers, the higher up you go in that, say, it's not as simple as top line revenue, but generally that could be the target. The easier it's going to get, It's not, I don't think it's linear the whole way. It tends to get, you have more options, let's say, the higher up you get, the more scale you get.
Yeah, you can leverage the economies of scale and the benefits. There's a lot of things that emerge from that when you have a lot going on.
But to do that, I mean, you have to have, you can't be just running around trying to do everything. You have to know your business, know the systems, because if like I said, you're putting the foot down on let's take it from the very start then. Supply chain manager's got a beautiful stream of stock in there. I'm putting the full pedal down on advertising. Business is going up a level. If we don't have our quality control systems in, if we don't have our support systems in place, this is going to start breaking down, because if you're ordering a lot more stock, you could potentially have more issues, and it's just going to highlight them at a bigger level. So to be able to, let's say, sharpen the saw before you put the foot down on scale, makes all the difference, Otherwise, you're just going to have big issues, whether that's cash flow, quality, customer issues. The list is endless.
Yeah, spot on. So that's a good point. And most people don't realize how this all connects like this.
Yeah. So these are like the things that that make the I think it's really fun. Obviously we're still quite small, but I think that makes it really fun, because your employees are like owners in their own right within their department. So they get an understanding for all this. I lean on them, they lean on me, and I'm planning to do like a team event now early next year, where we're gonna, on the company, of course, where we'll meet up and maybe get a hotel and have some activities and stuff. So I'm looking forward to that too. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and
nice.
hopefully COVID permitting, let's say. So
I mean, it's incredible. It's this is the joy of being an entrepreneur, is like, being able to do these things and have some fun as well.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, look, this has been a great conversation. It's been going for a while, and obviously, again, full disclosure, you're obviously a part of Into Profits, and we're working together at this point. but I still want to ask you, and you're a very honest guy. You don't beat around the bush. So I just want to ask you, like, objectively, from your perspective as Apex seller, who would it be a good fit for? Like, who, in your view, should really consider or would really benefit from that? Like what situation would uh, be a great fit to come through this and sort of really be able to scale your business because of the systems and the structure and everything?
I think anyone with confusion about what to do next um, is the perfect fit, because I know we've said it a couple of times now, but it gives great clarity, as in I
Yeah.
have not only understanding of what's working now, but I know as we scale where the pain points are going to be, where we need more help, where we need new systems, and that will enable me to then go to another level, I hope.
Nice. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're definitely on track to just, I mean, you have been growing and it's going to continue. There's no question
Yeah,
about
I
it.
think they have to have a desire to want to do better,
Yeah.
because yeah, it's real business and it's real stuff, and I don't think everyone likes that. I think I think people often don't gel with that. Some people just want the easy thing.
Yeah, 100% agree. It takes work to go through this and implement, and total dedication. Like, you obviously have immersed yourself your entire life in your business. It's really what it takes in reality,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
It's not a side hustle. That's not going to go very far.
yeah. At least I assume it does. I don't know any other way.
Right.
I think
Well,
that's
like,
the most predictable way anyway, is if you're all in,
it should be the most enjoyable way, if
Yeah,
you like what you're doing,
yeah,
then it wouldn't
yeah,
you wouldn't
exactly.
have it
It
any
goes
other way.
back to that dedication, doesn't it? Being able
Yeah.
to, and that's even for us as people as well, being able to throw yourself into something and then yeah, and achieve some great things. I think there's
Yeah.
nothing better than setting targets and being able to go out there and do it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, any final words or lessons or suggestions you want to share with people?
It's a big question. I don't know if I have any lessons to give people. um, yeah, I don't know. I just think do it. I'm not saying that that's Apex or whatever it may be, but oftentimes we have these things on our mind, things we want to change, but we don't go out there and do it. And we spend a lot of time talking about it, thinking about it. And at the end of the day, none of us is getting out alive. So you
Yeah,
might as well go out there and do it and have some fun.
right. Well said. All right. Thanks for your time, and hope everyone enjoyed this conversation. So that's it. Bye for now.
Awesome.